Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. Today our topic is asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction in fungi. Earlier we learned the vegetative reproduction in fungi. Today it is asexual reproduction. This reproduction takes place in fungi by means of spores. By means of spores. Now, what are these spores? Spores are the specialized structures, single-celled structures, which detach, produced from the parent body, and then they are dispersed. They get detached first, then dispersed, and on reaching the suitable substratum conditions, or we should say they germinate, or this is a spore. When it reaches to the proper substratum on substratum, it germinates there, it absorbs moisture and produces the new parent body, the adult parent body. These are the spores. Now, what are different kinds of spores that are produced during asexual reproduction in fungi? Number one, we have the zoospores. Zoospores are flagellated spores, flagellated 1 to 2 flagella. These are flagellated 1 to 2 flagella they have, and are naked. That means they don't have the cell wall. For example, it takes place in saprolagnia or syncytium. These are the examples where these zoospores are produced. These flagella, they may be attached anteriorly to the spore, or they may be attached laterally to the spore. These zoospores are produced in specialized structures. We call them the zoosporangium. One is the zoosporangium, and when you have many, then we call it the zoosporangia. Second is the sporangiospores. Sporangiospores, these are non-motile, they don't have the flagella, and thin-walled spores. They are produced endogenously. That means in the structures where these sporangiospores are produced, we call them the sporangia. The sporangium here. Here we have the sporangiospores produced, and these are produced within the sporangium. So these are endogenously produced these zoospores. For example, we have the rhizopus. For example, rhizopus. Now, third one is the conidia. These are also thin-walled and non-motile. They are produced on special branches of the hyphae. For example, these are the hyphae. Some special branches are formed. Let me take it here. Some special branches are formed, and these branches are called as the conidiophores. And on these conidiophores are formed the conidia. They are produced mainly in chains. They may be, that means they may be produced terminally, or they may be produced laterally on the main conidiophore. And they are produced exogenously. They are produced outside the structure, this main structure. So these are the conidia. Now, the fourth type of spore is the chlamydospores. Chlamydospores. Example, I forgot you in the third one, the third method, the third type of spore that we discussed earlier, that were the conidia. The example there is aspergillus or penicillium. Now, the fourth one is the chlamydospores. These are the thick-walled spores. Produced either terminally or anywhere else on the hyphae, or intercalary. They may be terminal or intercalary. This is the hyphae. They are produced directly from the hyphal cells. For example, these are the hyphal cells. So there are some cells, they change themselves into the chlamydospores, thick-walled chlamydospores. These are long-lasting. They may live for several years to avoid the unfavorable conditions. When conditions are unfavorable, then the hyphal cells, some hyphal cells change into the chlamydospores. Thick-walled, which make them resistant to the unfavorable conditions. These are the resting and resisting spores. We call them resting and resistant spores. For example, rhizopus. Now, fourth one, the fifth one is oidea. Under excess salt, sugar, and water conditions, these oidea are formed. These are also non-motile. These are non-motile and thin-walled. Produced when you have the excess salt, sugar, and water conditions. These were different types of the spores that are formed during asexual reproduction, or we should say the asexual reproduction in fungi takes place by means of these kinds of the spores. This is all for today. Khuda Hafiz, fi aman Allah.